Every one of you watching this screen, look out.
Anything can happen in the next half hour.
What did I tell you about cartoons?
They've got a lot of brains, and they've got a lot of chutzpah.
Tell me how comic books make you feel, Dave.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious, and don't call me Shirley.
Hello, this is Franz Cantor, cartoonist, illustrator, and ToonTalker, and I'm here with
Jim Bridges, and I'm the founder and president of the Australian Cartoon Museum.
Right. So who have we got today? We're doing a book bite, and we're doing Norman
Saunders, yes,
and it is
by his son,
David.
David.
So
now he looks pretty generic, but he's probably the most generic artist because everybody copied him.
1907 to 1989, the legendary illustrator of Mars Attacks, Wacky Packages, Batman, Pre-Code Comics, Men's Adventure magazines, paperbacks, pulp magazines, and sci-fi. So he works right across many genres and about 3 or 4 different generations, actually.
Yeah,
so
and styles,
very
styles
prolific,
as well. But I have a feeling like if magazine illustration had a spine, this guy'd be the spine. What do you reckon?
He's definitely a force to be reckoned with. So this is him in 1968. We'll explain the process a little bit about the illustration for publishing in a little bit. But I just want to sort of go through this. He comes from a family that love these, the pioneer, and this is 1910, both wearing handmade clothing. So they come from this incredible traditional, Americana type of background, like, Abe Lincoln or something, Bush people.
Well,
and he really loved...
You make things, you fix things up, you don't go out and buy
he loves drawing. He loves drawing. This is his early stuff, 1920, So...
A boy and his dog.
Yeah. So he's really very, in many ways, like a fine artist. So he brings a fine artist's sensibility to the illustration field. Illustration is using paintings to communicate something. It could be to sell, like in advertising, or it could be to illustrate a book or a book cover or something like that. But it's basically to communicate with one image rather than a sequential art form, which is comics. So it's you have to be very, very good communicator and a very good artist and a bit of a designer and a bit of everything.
And this is what he's really known for, his covers.
Yeah. This is 1929. This is like Modern Mechanics.
That's a long time ago, 1929.
How beautiful the construction and the painting of it is. So he loves details. He's not afraid of details, and something like as corny and funny as this, a large sort of reflector. The other illustrators are sort of like probably not give it as much perspective and realism.
He had his feet in sci-fi and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. So he loves details. Yeah. He loves the narrative of these incredible details. This is like the 1920s, obviously. So,
Technocrats.
Yeah. He's not afraid of drawing robots. And it's a nice robot too. Yeah. 1933.
And the robot has lightning in his hands.
Yeah.
I think that's
symbolic of that period, isn't it?
That's where Disney pinched it from. Disney pinched it from in Zeus in Fantasia. Now look, there's a tank plane.
Yeah.
No such thing.
And there he is painting the tank plane.
Yeah.
So you can see already he's very used to, he's not afraid. A lot of the artists of that era, the illustrators of that era, were artists. So they painted on canvas generally, they painted in a studio. They had a proper fine art background and training, and they had a fine art sort of setup,
Yeah.
and and this is how you get this sort of look and feel for the studio. Different again today, of course, but if you harken back to the period that you would often see, Schunhofer or Norman Rockwell photographed in their studio.
Yeah.
Andrew Wyeth or any
Yeah.
of them, and a lot of them sort of bridged fine art into illustration.
Well, look at all these bubbles and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an obvious treasure box, but he's inventing things, isn't he?
Well, but not only that, but he's using a sense of realism in order to get the drama.
Look at
and
that! Look at
the
that curve
accuracy.
on the leg.
Well, it's the diving suit.
Yeah, I know,
So
but-
there's still anatomy inside.
Yeah.
It's not sort of like a stay puft.
But it's
marshmallow
curved. It's
man.
not. I mean, he's
Well-
he's turned it. I mean, the diving suit would be very stiff and all that. He's curved.
Dynamics
Yeah,
into it.
yeah.
Yeah. So these are his modern mechanics illustrations and illustrated covers. So technical drawing. He's a master of everything.
What's the date of that one?
May 1933.
Well, the Japanese pilots ride to death on flying bombs, kamikaze.
Well, that was
That's
before.
before the war.
That was before. So every topic, sports, American life, boys' life, like Scout magazine style, and this is Rip Van Winkle, obviously. So classical illustrated stories of the American, mythology.
Well, besides the covers, I mean, see, this is
Detective stories.
see, there's the skull, but it's made up of
Yeah, the villain and the poison. 33s. So this is these were very popular. These were dime store 10-cent novels.
Well, this is the reason people bought the books.
Yeah, for the covers.
Yeah.
So it was pre. They had sometimes they had nudity, but mostly they had this sort of allusion to salacious scenes inside, and not afraid of metaphorical drawings and things. This is quite interesting.
The
There's
signs
fangs.
of the servant.
Well, it's a cobra, really, in the shape. Again, playing with shapes and configuring a realistic scene inside.
And the teeth
guy
of two
with
knives.
yeah. Saucy pin-up magazines. These are saucy stories. Again, these were smaller, slightly smaller than... They're in between size of American comic book size and paperbacks. So,
Reader's Digest size.
yeah. So they're small enough to fit into your pocket. And you can read that on the train, on the way to work. If you're not scared of people seeing you read saucy stories with these beautiful pin-ups on the cover. And we move into, this is going into the late 30s now. So see how prolific
A
he is.
naked
even
shark.
then. So in his younger years, really, really prolific. Public Enemy, of course, it was a beautiful. There was a great interest in
Gangsters.
drama, gangsters, and
See, there's Edgar Hoover in that issue.
yeah. Must have been a small, diminutive size of J. Edgar Hoover.
He wrote an article
Yeah,
about high
fitting
heels.
there. Did he?
Yeah. And now what's this? Well, what's she looking? What's that? We run out of. Okay, that's the
yeah.
shadow of the. We're coming
Yeah, so these are just adventure magazines from the 30s. I just want to sort of breeze through this. This is his sort of formative years. They're quite, very prolific. This guy, this is an illustrator's illustrator. So he is so prolific, it's unbelievable what he got up to. So
And
we're
a lot
not
of-
even 10% of the way through.
Yeah.
Saucy movies, this is again 1930s. It's just prior to them bringing in like codes of, mustn't show nipples and things on the covers and things. So
There's a head floating around. No, he's still connected. No, he's not connected.
yeah, well, that's the French Revolution.
Yeah,
So
but
she's got
girls
the
to the
cap.
guillotine.
Girls to the guillotine.
Yeah.
So, really beautiful. And, to research the details here, you don't have a lot of
he went-
access to
He went to a
morgues.
morgue.
So you'd have to go to a morgue or
Yeah.
be associated. I was associated with a newspaper, so you'd get access to photographs.
Well, you had your own morgue.
Well, no, you had access to the newspapers.
Yeah, their morgue. The morgue is where everything is, all the
photos.
illustrations and
Yeah.
stuff.
But if you weren't
an
access,
actual morgue, he's gone to an actual morgue.
you'd have to, You would have to research it.
Yeah.
So all of these are reference from photographs. So they have photographs, usually his girlfriend or his wife, posing like
or
this.
his son or himself.
Well, not as this, but
Yeah.
this would be himself. A photograph. He would be based on a photograph of him,
Yeah.
in that pose, showing a little bit of lighting, so he could sort of reference that and give it a certain amount of detail.
But these are
and-
interesting
and
because
realism.
that's the the sketches he did, and then he changed it.
Yeah. Here you get into some pretty heavy-duty stuff. This is the Western things. The Western artwork, of course, it has to sort of fulfill this dream of the West. It's the desert and the
More than
sky.
just action. More than just action.
Yeah. So, and the details are very important to get. You've got to really research this. If you're not a cowboy, you have to know about the hats and the guns and the paraphernalia
And the saddles.
Yeah. So all of this is beautifully referenced. Probably the magazine itself would give him access to a lot of material, and you could also always go.
The Rockford Files.
Yeah, but you can always go to like Western museums.
Yes.
And photograph the paraphernalia of the times.
Yeah.
So it'd be a little bit of work, a little bit of travel, probably also for an illustrator. Researching this, and he'd have to work pretty fast.
Yeah,
but these were done like
he'd be
more than
cutting
one
out,
a week.
He'd be more. Yeah, he'd be cutting out magazines and photo references. They all had
Libraries of photographs and cuttings and things like that.
National Geographics.
Yeah, but
for exotic backgrounds. And stuff
being
like
able to
that.
draw these leather heads, the helmets and things,
Yeah.
of the times, you'd have to really understand. You'd have to have one of those.
Well, he didn't make it up like Kirby, although some of these things are a little bit made up. Like there's no such thing as this, but he would have made that up.
No, you'd make that up from something else.
Yeah.
A spark plug. I don't know.
Why not?
You could see the typical thing where they had these big banner headlines that you have to make space for it. So all of the details contained within an area. Those of you that like Frank Frazetta can still see those posters that he used to do.
Frank grew up with this stuff as a kid, didn't he?
Yep. So this was the language, the visual language that people were familiar with, and certainly artists starting out would be very attuned to these tropes, of death and Beauty and the Beast and things like that. So there's so much research has gone into care. Even like the drawing of a
lift.
Of a lift.
Yeah.
Inside the lift with the particular gratings that they had, the grill, the pull. What do you call it? Those wire doors.
Yeah.
And you could start to see the colours, right? They had a propensity for bright, garish colours that contain the illustrations.
Yeah, but
so they have to
also
work within those.
They
limitations.
had limitations, didn't they? Like
they had printing limitations.
that's right. They could do yellow, but there's certain colours they couldn't do.
Or primary colours they could do.
Yeah.
Anything they couldn't do photographs because photographs tend to be too hard to register.
Yeah.
But these things were chunky. They were They were designed to work well on a cover.
So
within
whether
the limitations of the
whether
printing
this
process.
was
Look at the beautiful
A5 size
compositions
or A4 size, he'd probably paint them all the same size.
There would be probably at least double the size of the printed page. Presumably these are magazine size.
Yeah.
So these would be about the size of this book. So A3.
There's a taxi and he's got it on an angle.
Yeah. So
A
drawing
taxi
the
looks
taxi
better
in perspective, writing notes, visual notes.
A taxi looks better when it's on 2 wheels than on 4 wheels. Nice big
Yeah.
fingerprint in the background.
Yeah.
That's a good motive. It's also circular.
Yeah, but you know everything. The hats at particular angles. The suits at particular angles. You know the type of all of the little details.
Well, all the curves.
Microphones.
Look at all the curves in this.
Guns
and
and
is
pistols
burning these.
So he had a set. He had like a set of lights and props, theatrical style props. He would set up little scenes, little scenarios, and photograph these, which I have done for magazine covers.
Towards
before.
the end of the book, you see the photos he used of himself.
Yeah. Look at that. It's a beautiful perspective shot.
But all the
of
drawing
escalators.
he's done, just to get the idea of it.
1939.
Yeah, all the idea he's done.
These would be those the beginning of escalators.
They're the wooden ones.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
If you ever been on a wooden escalator, that's an experience. I don't want to repeat that one. A bit scary.
Well, in London, the underground was wooden and it started a fire, so they went to metal.
The Strangler's Holiday. I've been on a holiday like that.
Have you?
Yeah. So this is crime. You know, look how dramatic it is. See with the underlighting and that. He really understands. This is the thing about him. He's an illustrator, beautifully researched. He can draw like you wouldn't believe, and you know, references.
Well, he knows where the light's coming from. All those things.
But, you know, referencing.
He's had a classical education, hasn't he?
Yes, but also it's an applied education.
Yeah.
It's really like jumping in and doing it, not scared. Oh, I've got to do a dame with a gun and
they used to call it commercial art.
Her dress is slowing down.
They used to call it commercial art.
Commercial art, yeah. Well, commercial art's more advertising based.
Yes, this is commercial art.
No, it's illustration still.
Yeah, it is.
Magazine illustration.
I know, but I mean, they were still teaching this stuff in commercial art.
Oh. Well, it was a very in America. There was a lot of magazines at this time in the 1940s, so it was a very respected.
Look how strong that is.
Yeah,
really strong.
And of course, this would be his wife posing for these shots.
Yeah,
she was.
They had to marry
his muse. His
they
model.
had to marry attractive women.
They had to.
Yeah, they had to.
Right,
and he probably measured her legs before he married her. You know,
some lovely, lovely sketches. You know.
Yeah.
Really understand.
You don't waste paper. Look,
details.
You don't waste paper. All that stuff.
Well, they're just little. These are trying to keep everything together for your ideas. You've got ideas for, you know, because I said to you before, he's so prolific. You know, he could be asked to draw a ship overturning, you know, cutaway, and then go into something more like this, which is sort of drawn on the probably at the field.
It's like Australian artists were doing stuff like that at the same time.
Yeah,
like there was this style.
Charcoal.
There's this international style during the war.
This is during the war.
Yeah,
so
he was
this
in China.
Yeah, so this is on site. His drawings on site. So this guy is obviously moving. There's a lot of movement
tessellated
there. So you have
tessellated floor.
Yeah, so you got to move very quickly. But see how quickly he's put in the vanishing points for the perspective. So it's got to work. No matter how quick it is, it all has to be correct.
Well, it has
the
to
Marco
work.
Polo Trail
Yeah.
in China. Beautiful, lovely watercolor. So watercolor traditionally, you know, illustrators use watercolor because it can very quickly capture the color and the mood and the lighting and things like that, which they can then form paintings.
It's quicker. It's quicker than sketching, isn't it? Watercolor.
It dries instantly, and you get a good idea of what the scene is and the colors and things, and you can do illustrations from them later on. So this is photographs of him in the field, you know, talking about Yankee.
And it looks like it's his dad. That's his dad. That's him and his dad.
This is him experimenting. We got back, I suppose.
This is early
Jackson Pollock.
Oh no, it's 65. No, he's not predating.
This is 1950.
Yeah, well, Pollock was early, late 40s, 50s, wasn't he?
Beautiful painting. So he's really, he's now branching off after the war. He's branching off into fine art. So he's bringing an illustrative quality to the painting. So it has some sort of mysterious narrative, which is beautiful.
Slicks.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Post-war slicks.
I'm not actually sure. Slicks can mean many things. They could mean the style of the painting itself is very sort of wet.
Well,
wet
discovered that
painting,
post-war
wet.
Slick magazines were no longer interested in featuring artists who wrote and illustrated his own
Travel articles.
Yeah, so Slick, I don't know. Slick probably just meant the printing process. I don't know. Look at all this reference here to get it right.
Yeah.
Out of that picture. All the vanishing points.
Yeah, so, this duotones, often inside the magazines, in the interiors of the magazines, they had stories beautifully painted, they're, again,
they would
different
start
use of
off
the
with that
material.
great introduction, then you'd turn the pages and then you'd end up at the end of the magazine just reading it, without the pictures.
Yeah.
But they introduced all stories and short stories with drawings.
And again, because of any professional illustrator, you're going to, add the world of advertising, which again is another very lucrative career choice.
Yeah.
And, beautiful sense of composition and drama. So, these were all done for a lot of these. There's so many, some of them are called unidentified illustrations. They're dated, but they're unidentified. What it's for, we don't know. Is it for a pitch or a commission? We're not sure.
His stuff looks very familiar anyway. But I mean, when you see some of those early, look at it, this is lovely. Look at all that. All the brownstones.
Yeah. It's a lovely exercise, almost like Dennis Hopper's trying, not Dennis Hopper, what was the name? Hopper, the painter.
Yeah.
Edward Hopper.
And that's his wife.
It's Celine, 1958. It's a beautiful portrait. So it's very 50s, so you can tell it's sort of that blotchy, unfinished state of the canvas using texture, very sort of a gesso underpainting. And that sort of came as a style, even on illustration paper later on in the 60s. This is a very wet acrylic look.
So he's still doing pulps.
Yep. Well, post-war pulps.
Look at that.
The dagger coming into the picture.
Post-war pulps. Yeah. Well, they wouldn't have lasted.
This
too
is
long.
a very popular composition where the characters sort of they surround the heroine or the hero, and then of course you've got
it's
space
telling a
at
lot.
the top
It's
for
telling
the
a lot of
logo.
story. He's obviously at a lineup, and someone's thrown.
Yeah, but a serrated knife, so it's got this sort of oriental, Chinese mystery about it. This is his hand, isn't that nice? It's sort of like a print.
Does that mean he's
stuck in
left-handed?
time.
Does that mean he's left-handed artist?
No, he printed his hand. He actually printed it as a bloody handprint
Yeah,
motif
that's his right
in
hand.
the illustration.
That's his right hand.
Yeah.
He's used.
So a lot of his, but a lot of the illustration, it's simply created, right?
Yeah.
But it's using graphic elements to create a sense of
Finders
interest.
creepers.
This is how it was reproduced.
Yeah.
It was quite nice. So the illustrations are contained within a certain area. You've got these boxes and the logos and things. So you've only got a small area to work within. But within that area, he punches in so much detail and dynamics and action. He has a very sort of his style
Dial for murder.
Yeah, he's a very dynamic style, but it's a very sort of semi-realistic, but very beautifully modelled. Beautifully.
That's his wife.
Yep. Beautifully modelled and composed, perfectly composed.
Well, look at that picture, for instance. It's all there, and just put the title.
Yeah. So this is obviously this would be like a sketch referencing for
Getting
his
on and off the
magazine
train.
work. So prolific, unbelievably prolific. The amount of details that he put into the these things are amazing, you know.
Well, we're lucky.
You can't appreciate them with the text because it's so distracting. But without the text, you can see even the
Well,
the
you see,
crisscross
he's
brush
taken
styles.
that out. It's gone.
No, it's there, but it's not. You can't see it.
Yeah.
But just knowing it's there is
Well,
a
I think
great,
we're very lucky because obviously the son has done the book and Dad's got all these pictures. So all these are
beautifully
from the
reproduced.
original.
This is the cover. This is his mum.
Yeah, that's his mum.
Great. What a doll!
Fancy growing up and knowing your mum's on the front of magazines and watching your dad drawing them.
I think you would love it. I adore it. It's one of the reasons why I did magazine covers was to walk into a newsagent, puff myself up and say, yeah, I did that and I did that and I did that. It's good. Take my kids along to video shops and show them all the video covers that I did. That you can't rent that. I'm not renting that. Is that any good? No, you can't rent that movie because it's.
Oh, you did the Howling and things like that.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
Beautiful sense of color, composition,
this
dynamics.
stuff looks like
it's beautiful wet
like it's
style
done
of
in the
brush strokes.
30s, but it's done in the 40s and
in the 50s.
What did they?
It's chunky.
50s, 51.
Yeah. Well, these are detective magazines. They still sold them right up into the 70s. And you see that.
Look, he really knew how to tell a story. Look at that picture.
Yeah, and look how beautifully done the glass.
Yeah.
You know, with chips taken out of it, like the bullets punched through the glass, taking out whole chips.
Yeah.
So it's not just it's not like a symbol of a bullet hole in glass. It's an actual picture of a bullet hole in glass.
Well, that's him. That's him. He's drawing himself.
Yeah. So he would be these, obviously making these expressions so that he could sort of reference them later in the illustrations. Beautiful sense of dynamics. She's brilliant. What a great model. My God, she's really into that, into those poses, isn't she? She's really good at it. Sometimes it's you can't come undone with somebody who can't sort of pose and get into the right positions, the right mood and things. But she does it really well, and she's quite versatile. There she is as a
zombie
or whatever. I think she's come back from the grave. There she is fighting robots. So this is the 1950s. They went all out. They started publishing so many magazines, and he would have been like their star. He would have had
he was so prolific.
Every week he would probably do about 5 or 10
I reckon he'd do.
illustrations, covers, and he'd be booked up probably months. He'd be on a contract, I think. The magazine publisher would have about 5 different publications, and they would just send him scripts constantly, and he would be he'd be stuck drawing. Occasionally he'd come up like this is the Mothman or something, So he'd have to really put his imagination to work and try to make it happen, But look at the drama,
he did
spotlight
magazines and
effect of
books,
the
but he
action.
never did comics, did he? He did do comic covers. He wasn't a comic artist, was he?
I think he was too busy.
Yeah.
They would have loved to have seen him in comics. He always has himself in the role of the
everyman
of the hero. I mean, variations on it, but it's generally him or his son later on. He had a younger version, so he played obviously older characters, and then have his son.
Had a lot of.
I can't tell you how pleased I am to see this. She is so cool. She's a wonderful, wonderful model. She's really versatile, and she knows how to pose. I mean, he does, obviously. That's the thing with drawing. You as an illustrator, you're an actor.
You have to do that.
You have to get into the right thing because you're so concerned about the composition and the storytelling in the picture. So you're telling a whole story with one picture.
By the cards.
It's a beautiful wet this is. It's it's got this line decker effect of the shininess on the skin.
Line
Sort of
decker,
hot
eh?
points.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where it comes from, the line decker.
Okay.
The line decker touch. But look at these compositions, bang, they're like windows, doors.
Line Decker was doing stuff when Flag was doing stuff, or was
Yeah.
it later? See, that's a really interesting drawing, isn't it? Hopalong Cassidy.
Yep.
What was his horse name?
Topper,
Good.
trying to catch me on.
I was trying to catch it.
But look at the colours, now we're going into the blues because he has to complement Hoppy's black shirt and hat and pants and things.
Although black was hard to do, so they made him blue.
Well, no, but blue is because it's shiny black, it's reflecting
Yeah, I know, but
the sky. But look at the drama, look, that whole thing.
Yeah.
The drama of the horse against the darker sky, And the sky is just flat colour. It's brilliant. Most of it going back into the yellow, of course.
I
Printers
remember
love
having comics.
yellow because it stood
I remember
out.
having comics like that. So
With-
we did
with
comics.
yeah.
I don't remember the covers, but I remember the logo.
You may see some here. I'm just sort of going to warn you about that. Hunting magazines, because people loved hunting, duck hunting and things. Don't know why, but that's it. That's just
A man's got to kill.
man's got to kill when a man's got to kill. So yeah, it's just one of those things. GIs, because a lot of war stories are still going on, and we're right into the communist era. So you've got now their GIs are fighting communist Red Chinese and things like that. Look how happy he looks. G.I. Joe, the Happy Killer.
I want to kill.
It's based on the real. This is the real G.I. Joe.
Yeah, well, it's the film.
P. Riley, Private Wingless Murphy, in Ernie Powell's story of G.I. Joe, 1945. So this is based on that. These are stories of the GI doing all these worldwide adventures. Explorer Joe, Kid Cowboy, Wild Boy, like Bomber the Jungle Boy, or a younger Tarzan. So these are read by teenagers. 10 cents. These are what these would be in between comics and journals again. They're pocket-sized books, not pocket books, pocket-sized. They're a little bit bigger, and they'd have stories in there with big letters so kids could read, and they would be illustrated within the magazine as well. And they'd have these beautiful covers. Yeah. So it'd be very interesting going to a newsstand in this era. You could not escape this guy's work.
No.
You'd see it everywhere.
Yeah.
And and so flexible. You could do these horror titles as well, and beautifully done.
Well,
this was the era of EC magazine.
I'd definitely say he'd be the spine, because his
So
stuff
he would have
is
been definitely would have been asked
I
by.
remember these.
Yes, these are the famous. This is a famous
Yeah.
Frankenstein Classics illustrated cover.
And that one.
Yeah, this is
What's this one?
what's called the Crisis. Oh,
Yeah.
there you go. So pirates, kids would be all over this stuff. Adventure comics, things like that. Look how beautiful, loose and fluid this is. It's fantastic. Gunsmoke Kingdom. Now you're getting into the 35 cents. These are the novels. These are the
novels, yeah.
paperbacks.
Yeah.
So these are smaller again. They're getting a bit smaller, right? But so the less they either did less illustrations or no illustrations inside. They just relied on you buying the cover, and that's how they became so successful. And look at every device. The thing about Saunders is very inventive with the composition. So occasionally you'll see sort of similarities and things like that, but then he would break out into something graphically.
But because he was
different.
so prolific, that's less work than an ordinary cover.
Yeah, but just drawing your attention. The composition is drawing your attention.
That's right.
And even within the constraints of the type blocks, to draw your attention is no mean feat, believe me. There is lovely nudes. So he's
All nudes
his
are
wife
lovely.
had a good sense of humor, I think. Honey, you're not wearing a nightie in this one. Okay. So, so cool. So such inventive lighting. He's really good at lighting, and she's so good at posing. You know, I mean, he's good. He's great at posing. He's a perfect actor. You know, but she's really good, man. She's really good. You could not ask for a better model. He wouldn't, you know, the magazines would probably supply him with models. And they said, well, you know, we've got the pin-up girls coming in tomorrow. Do you want to hire them?
No, I've got the war.
Yeah.
I'm used to the war.
Yeah. So that's what happened. This is a lovely, looks like a oil painting almost. So oil's like acrylics as well.
I think I actually
Dries
had that.
slower. Yeah. So these are, you know, again, getting into the early era of in the late
What's the
50s,
date of that?
66,
yeah. A go-go.
So paperbacks, again, getting more salacious, you know,
Yeah.
with the sexy stuff.
Well, look, he's got the guitar and, you know.
Yeah, Beatles haircuts. Sex a Go-Go. Men's Adventure magazine. So these are from magazines, the inside of the magazine, illustrating a story.
Well,
so,
he never worked for Playboy, did he?
not sure. We'll find out, but he
think
may
so.
have. But you know, definitely as an illustrator. This is how he had to look. He's a master of graphic design, and this sort of a grid is a compositional element grid that invites you to sort of play along with the different positions of elements in the painting, so that it all has some kind of a meaning. Things point and intersect with each other, sort of draw your eyes and make sense. And that's the pencil, and that's the finished illustration, which is a duotone again. Duotones are using two colors, black and white, and one other color, blue or red or something, and it's printed in that fashion as well, with two colors inside the magazine. So very good at action. This looks like an oil painting to me. Very, very fluid. It's lovely.
Well, he's putting his name on the pictures, look.
Yeah. Now it's less printed and more sort of like a signature. This is a beautiful painting.
Well, there's a bit of work on that.
Yeah,
and all that
this would have taken him
reference.
several weeks to do.
You reckon?
Yep. So
Okay.
this is definitely now slower.
Yep.
It's slowed down. This was a bigger commission in a magazine for Saga 1961. Again, now these are slower commissions. These, you know, he's done his fast commissions. Now he's slowed down and he's providing these great illustrations that depict points of you know, action in history, historical dramas and things like that, possibly. You know, some references now, some more studies of light and things, probably for this illustration.
Well, it is.
Yeah, so this is about a Broadway gangster
Damon
or something.
Runyon.
Yeah.
Damon Runyon wrote Guys and Dolls.
So these go from pulp magazines into now more respectable novels style.
Well, there are all the
writing.
pictures of him
Yeah.
posing
Yeah.
for all those characters, like that guy there and that guy is
Yeah.
there, and
So he had a
that
perfect.
guy's
He had a
there.
beautiful setup, and you know, off he went and did his work in his studio, and was able to, you know, produce work like this. But look at the underlighting here. Look at the brilliant the way that he would compose it and light it like a real professional. You could not photograph these. These are beyond the.
So
the scope
his
of
whole
photograph.
career, he was using photos.
Yep.
He didn't get it like, you know.
You can't draw the details that you want to get into the painting. You
Okay.
can't make up.
Okay.
You'd just be stylizing it too much.
Yes. Okay.
You know, I mean, obviously that bear arm
Yeah.
is probably a little bit stylized, but you know, because it's bare hands don't have tendons visible.
No,
They
too
don't have
furry.
long
No,
claws
but-
like that. They have mitts.
Yeah. Well, they do have claws.
Not like that.
Well,
That's actually, is that a bear? That looks more
it's
like
definitely a bear.
We're saying it's a grizzly, but it looks more like a cat, like a panther. But we'll forgive it. But look at that expression. That's beautiful. Look at this. Look at the detail. Look at that. It's all the details are in the shade. and it's a duotone again. You know, 2 colors. He's so good at light and shade. This guy's an illustrator's illustrator. So if you ever want to be illustration, if you ever thought about being an illustrator, you need to watch this guy. You need this book. This is like so influential. You know, like it's one thing being a painter, but try to get the painter into the painting into a shape like that. How would you do it? He can do it. And again, his wife. Look at his wife. You know, this is her. She's a star in this thing. That's Teddy Roosevelt. Yeah. The Rough Riders. So all of these are from magazines, respectable writers writing these adventure stories in these magazines that were really highly prized. These are this is not dime store stuff. This is really good adventure stories. So, lovely work. Lovely work. Civil War, all across all genres and times, and he would research it beautifully. There's his wife again, you know. Put down that bottle of whiskey. She's really, really good. I can't tell you how important it is to have something there that inspires you to put in the work. That's
a great cover because
beautiful
this
shot.
guy's going to drown and he's trying to get out, and there's a bloke with a knife.
And there's a
him.
photograph of him, posing for it.
Although he's changed it, hasn't he?
A little bit.
Yeah.
You can't see his teeth there, but you can see it there.
Well, that's why you don't use photos.
Beautiful.
Because illustration, you have all these details that you miss out with.
You can't use photographs. Photographs are too. They're not prepared properly. They're not. They're not
you
designed
can't get enough
properly.
detail in them and all that stuff.
And also, if you're going to use it with type, you'd have to crop it in. It'd be grainy. It'd be awful.
Yeah.
This is, beautifully designed, captured. Oh my God, this is great. This is so great. My favourite, the Nazis.
It's,
love them. They're perfect villains.
What's his
Stroheim.
name? It looks like
Strontium.
No, not Stronheim.
Oppenheimer.
No.
Gruber.
The director.
Schneider.
He did
From
Laura. He did the Cardinal.
Right. That guy.
Yeah, he played
Look at
Nazis.
his.
He played Nazis. He was the director.
Erich von Stroheim.
No, nice try. It was later on.
Colonel Klink.
No, he was a director.
I don't know.
Can't remember his name.
Otto Preminger.
That's it. That's. I'm pretty sure that is.
Otto Preminger.
Yeah, because he
He's
played
got a
the
bulgy back neck
Well,
and a scar. Look at that.
yeah.
From dueling
yeah.
as a gentleman Nazi.
They had gentlemen Nazis, did they? Let's.
The ones with scars like that, because
Oh,
they're
yeah.
like jewels, And he had like this.
He could have been
monocle.
a gangster. He could have been a German gangster.
But look at that being.
Who was hung and then he got out of it.
Is that blood or lipstick? We don't know. It could be. Ooh, the feminazis.
Yeah.
The feminazis. They've got green uniforms. This is his wife again. She's prolific. She's really, really interested in
He
his
saved a
helping
lot of
his
money on
work.
costumes.
Well, yeah. Why
Saved a lot
not?
of money on costumes.
Why not? Get the job done. This is so. Wow, that is an iconic painting. That one, that whole pose. That's like they must have referenced that for the battle scenes in War of the Worlds, 1950.
Do you know Russ Heath? He did comics. He did war comics. And
So
I
look
can-
at
I
the
can see-
colour composition.
I can
here.
see how Russ Heath would be influenced by this guy.
Yeah, beautiful lighting. God, really, he knows so much. He's just.
Well, if you get the
so
lighting
good.
right,
we're getting
you're telling
into
the story, aren't you?
Yeah, see, he's got his props. He's got his little German helmet, and his little German, cigarette, and his jacket and hat and things. So he would know the costume shop, the local costume shop. They would know all about him. They say, "What do you want?"
I want a Nazi. Okay, we've got 3. Come on down.
So this is the 60s. There was an interest in, obviously, was a lot of war films in color. So this was getting into the bondage era of torture and women being subdued and things like that in Nazi scenarios. They're going to brand her with a hot thing, bayonet.
Not
But
nice.
but she's got she's the wife. She's got a good sense of humor. She didn't mind doing that. Imagine raising kids and having to cook and clean and do all this as well. It's a hard life. But she's as influential. She's probably the reason for him being so prolific. Because it's inspirational to have somebody that helps you this much.
You get the work done.
Yeah, but get the work done to such a level,
Yeah.
incredible level. So a lot of these would be based on actual events from the war or something. People be kind of sort of familiar with these tropes. So, it was a lot of fun era. We're getting more than halfway through the book now. We're still into the nudes and the war stories. So let's go forward. Now we're getting into football cards. Look at that, baseball cards, and football cards of the era. Trading cards. Now this is important. We're going to get into something that's you're going to recognize. So here we go from baseball and football into something that I remember. The first time I remember is these cards that were put out in Australia by Scanlons. This was the Civil War cards, which I had a full set of.
What, in Australia? They had Civil War cards?
They did.
Really?
And they also had money, Confederate money. Okay. And I had a full set of Confederate money.
Oh, they weren't cards, the money?
They were in the packs.
Okay.
So they were very exciting. Then you have flags of the world, which we didn't have here. I didn't see this. I'm not sure what they were. But then we had these, which I actually missed. I don't know how I missed them, but I missed them. This is Mars Attacks.
So that's the actual...
He did all of the illustrations in Mars Attacks, so they all have the same
So that's
quality.
62,
Yeah,
and the film would have been made 20 years later.
yeah.
Or 30 years
This
later.
didn't exist as a title. It existed only as these cards. So there was nothing else to go with it. No books, no comics, nothing. And they asked him because of this, the quality he could bring to the story. They knew that he could perform this. He could really pull this big job. This is for tops. This is a big job. We'll talk more about the other stuff. That I don't know how many cards. It's quite a lot. And this is influential. It created careers. These cards. Tim Burton.
Yeah, so
was influenced
some
by it.
kid got him when he was a kid, and then later on he probably wrote the script for this, and they made the movie.
Yeah. So look at this. It's right out of B films from the 1950s.
All the
It's
action's
so
there.
much fun.
All
I would have been all over had I seen it. I would have really, it would have really excited me, this stuff, because I love it. And I never saw it till years later when the film came out. I never saw this. These are bigger, so the cards are quite small, so they'd be done probably 3 or 4 times the size. Maybe this is to size, I would say, probably. So they're quite, loose when you see them big like this.
They're watercolour.
They're acrylic.
Okay.
You can use acrylic as watercolor or oil or something like that, but it has a particular qualities that a bit hard to work with. I find it difficult to work with.
What, you prefer oil?
Yeah.
But
So look at these.
But oil's harder, isn't it?
Yeah, these are war stories and things. So fantastic stuff. Fantastic stuff. So dramatic, and they're just for little cards. I think these cards are
Well,
probably
that's his son.
bigger.
That's David.
Yeah.
And then they pose,
These cards are probably bigger than they would be, in real life. These illustrations, they'd probably be, almost half the size in real life, the bubblegum cards. So we're getting into something really interesting, folks. Don't stay with us. Listen to this. This is the ugly stickers, right? There was a lot of that. Rat Fink came out, and there was...
So what date are these? 65?
Yeah, so there's
Well, that's
those
Rat Fink. That's
car
Rat
ones
Fink.
that you were
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah.
All those things.
Yeah. The hot
Rods, yeah, all that stuff.
And of course, when you put them together, you get a big poster.
You get a big poster in the back, the back of the cards. So they were huge. Okay, now we get into this came out at the same time as the TV show, 1966.
But they're different.
But they're different to the show, and they used his illustrations actually on a lot of the paraphernalia. Like I bought a Batman belt, a utility belt, and it had his illustrations.
Yeah, I
on the
remember.
utility
They
belt.
weren't the same, but that's
No.
because.
They weren't the same because they were. He based these illustrations on the comic at the time.
I know, but if you actually
the
had
early 60s.
Burt Ward and what's his name in that photo, then that
You'd have to
wouldn't
show
be
their eyes.
It wouldn't be
etc.
the same.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have the drama.
No. This is really dramatic.
Yeah.
And you start to see the Joker in his shots basically nailed the Joker, whereas the Joker in the TV show was like pale, imitation. This Joker was nuts. He was nuts. And the two things in Batman that people remember is Batman and the Joker, right? Those are the two elements in Batman. Nothing else matters. That's what happened in these cards. They're all about Batman and the Joker. You'll start to see other characters come in a second, but this is the red. This is the black series, right? So he put out different series for this. Catwoman. This is a beautiful Catwoman.
You didn't have these cards,
Riddler.
yeah? You didn't.
I did. I had nearly a full set.
But this is 60s.
Yeah, 60s. I had nearly a full set.
So you were just a little kid.
Yeah, I had nearly a full set. This is the blue set.
So is this bubblegum?
And this is the red set.
Bubblegum?
They had bubblegum in it. Yeah.
Okay.
Scanlan's pink bubblegum.
So there's that lighting again.
Yeah. He's a master of this dramatic lighting. So, he'll set up this little mood shot, this little stage, photograph the reference, and then he'll paint from the reference long into the night and, and produce something that is extraordinary work. So much effort, and look at that. Look, so much effort and fun that he's getting into the illustrations. It's brilliant. See, that's not even the TV show's Batmobile. That's just a different version. So, and of course the white eyes and things. And he'd come up with characters that are nothing to do with the show or the comic. So here we go into the era of Universal horror. This is again in the 60s. This is, building up on the tropes. There was a confusion
these
of the
stickers.
Yeah.
So you could peel them off.
You could peel them off. Yeah.
Okay.
It was very popular. So this is the whole Universal family from
Mars attacks.
No, that's not. No, that's not. It's from. Well, this is the Mole Men, the Mummy, obviously. So other bits and pieces, but it's more like
Phantom of the Opera.
Cyclops from
Phantom of the Opera. And
Yeah.
it's,
Wolfman, King Kong, Frankenstein. This is This Island Earth.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Jeff Morrow. And then he went into this. This is like, oh my God, this is Superman, right? But this time he'd used pen and ink, so he broke away from the style. He did the cover. This is the cover of the box. This is the cover.
But
it stood up on the counter.
He did these too?
He did these too.
Because that's not his style.
No,
is
it's
it?
not. But he did the line art. So this is how versatile he was. It's beautiful.
No, he was created the display box and the 16-piece puzzle So you turn them over and you have a puzzle.
Original line art for Superman the Jungle.
Yeah, but did he do that?
Yep.
Okay. Well, he was sure he could do the entire job in one day and earn far more than his usual minimum wage. After 8 long days of work, he groaned. Inking comics is a lot harder than it looks.
Yeah, he didn't do this a lot. It required a different set of rules.
Yeah.
But you can start to see, because it's comics and it's separated colours. You see the separation problems.
Well,
that they had with
he
the
was
medium.
doing line. He was doing line with
Yeah.
colour.
Yeah, but you can see the misregistration of the pink dots, the magenta dots.
Yeah.
So that's typical of the printing method, and that happened in comics as well.
Yeah.
And you could pick up an old comic, it's got these little puncture marks in the paper that
Nutty
tried to
initials.
register, but in vain.
The only card set invented by Norman. He invented the whole lot.
Yeah, beautifully. Look, he's so versatile. This looks like Thule birds. It's really
there's a bit of
interesting work.
Basil Wolverton,
Yeah. These were ugly buttons. So, he's across all these different things. This is why Norm Saunders was so influential.
67.
Yeah. These are stickers again. These are product stickers.
So he's made
up rats instead of Jats.
Yeah.
Jats, of course, is an American brand. We used to have it too, but we don't have it anymore. Actually, no, this is based on Ritz. Ours was Jats.
Yeah.
Ritz was the imported brand.
Yeah.
Tide. Again, flags, more flags. Oh, and they had on the back, I think they had...
He sewed in China.
Yeah. Some language. Presidents. So I think he would be dismayed to have to draw Trump. There'd be no what would you show of Trump? Oh dear. Love initials. This is 1969.
Yeah, look at it. Look at the colours even.
Yeah. But, it's not coming from the 1920s or the 1930s. How would he know how to do that? His versatility and understanding of the era. This kind of looks very Al Jaffe. Beautiful. They're little standee. These are little... Oh, okay. So these are perforated, so they stand up.
Aren't they the puffy ones?
No.
The puffy stickers?
No. They stood up.
It said they're stickers.
Yeah. Some of them are stickers and some of them would stand up. So they
Okay.
probably have little stands, standees, I think.
Standees.
Yeah. So you get perforated
The rat figure
printing. They would be used everywhere. Okay, so some of these are from joke companies.
Yeah.
They used to do at the time, Joy Buzzers, that sort of style. That's nice. New York cover.
New fad. new fad for the children of the skeptical 70s.
Very nice. Log cave in. It'll bring down the house. The log cave in.
Slatex. Slatex.
Shot wheels instead of Hot Wheels. So they're wacky posters for which some of these are wacky posters.
Fang. Mud.
Yeah. Instead of mad, yeah. Bum checks. Bum checks. Like, rubber checks.
Mashbox.
Mashbox. Yeah. Famous mobsters.
Yeah. Hawaiian punks.
So these are kids would buy these sticker packs and they put them on their school books or on their lunch pails.
Yeah, but these are extension of mad ideas.
Yeah, Mad used to bring them out, but not regularly. They bring it out once a year.
Yeah.
They have Mad stickers, and they don't have one page of Mad stickers.
Yeah.
This guy had, this company that he worked for, they brought these out, and these were hugely popular. They were hugely popular. Let's get into the end of the era. Here we go into the cars, like the beautiful caricatures of Hot Wheels and things of the drag strips, of that era. Nice. Beautiful later work. Some getting back into fine art now, into Western art. So, Western art sort of tells little stories of these little scenarios about people, having adventures in the wild, meeting Indians and fighting off buffaloes and stuff like that.
People would be buying the originals by now.
Here he is on his travels again.
Yeah, people would be buying
Venice.
They'd be buying the originals by now,
Yeah, so he travelled to Europe. This is in, was it England, Ireland, Scotland? Beautiful.
Athens.
Yeah, so he really enjoyed had a nice little travel. There he is with his wife. Who's that? Ralph DeSoto at the Pulp Show. Ralph DeSoto. Who's DeSoto, you might ask? We'll have to talk about DeSoto another time.
Do you know who DeSoto is?
I have an inkling.
You have an inkling,
He's another illustrator. All right, so they're beautiful. I love these end papers. They're just such a beautiful description of. They're all pencils, and they're so descriptive of the variety of genres that he moved in. And there's his wife again.
There's Mars painting him. Where's his wife again? Yes.
So yeah, beautiful.
Joe
That's him.
Kay.
That's him with his son.
Yeah.
1954 he was born. Wow, beautiful stuff. Okay, so Monsterettes. Let's try to get this back in order so we could say bye-bye. Here we go. So this is a fantastic book. This is an illustrator's illustrator, Norman Saunders.
You've said that many times, but it's true.
Yeah, this guy is the bee's knees.
The bee's knees, and his son's done a good job.
Absolutely.
A good job.
All right, this is Franz Cantor and
Jim Bridges.
And we'll catch you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for the sour persimmons, cousin.